Oh yeah.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat.
Shabbat
You
shalom. I
beat
beat
me
you
to
to
it,
it.
you son of a-
Shabbat
Hey, Shabbat
shalom.
Shalom, my friend. How
What's
we
up,
doing?
bro? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm doing well. I for filming purposes, I turned my fan off, so I'm gonna
Oh,
be
it's
sweating during this
gonna be hot.
Swimming my shorts already. Actually, it's quite something. It's quite special.
I wonder
How's
if
your
they have
day going,
I
babe?
wonder if they have like an AI tool yet that can remove that noise or something from the background. They must have something.
Well, you have an audio engineer. Maybe you should ask him.
Well, he probably wouldn't say because that would take away the jobs.
That's right. He's like, fuck you.
No, it has to be done manually.
Impossible. I wish, man. I wish. Make it so easy.
They'll never be able to do it. It's just it's
It's no, you need me
yeah.
for a long time. Don't worry.
But
Okay, here we
dude,
go.
the hair
Woo.
looks good, bro.
Yeah, baby. That hair
That looks
transplant,
amazing.
right? I got curls now.
I haven't seen that, I don't think. Dude, it looks amazing. Are you happy with it?
I'm so happy with it, man.
Dude,
I
that
remember,
looks
yeah,
incredible.
I talked to you. Yeah, we talked right before I got my hair transplant on your podcast. And yeah, this is like almost 2 years.
That's incredible. How long did it take to like really start making a difference?
Uh I look like a freak for a good time. Was
Like
like,
how long? Like a year?
I would say I started noticing a difference 6 months in, and
Okay.
then I didn't really notice a vast difference until like a year and change probably.
Wow, wow,
So
wow.
it's like planting a tree and hoping you get a fucking orchard out of it. You know what I'm
Well, you
saying?
got a beautiful orchard
I
now.
got I got the Lex.
Wait, so does that mean that like it can you can never lose it now?
I
Like
can never lose it. It's stuck with me.
how the fuck does that work?
It's quite a complicated process.
You wouldn't understand. You wouldn't
You wouldn't
understand
get
the
it, man.
science.
It's so advanced. It's crazy. But it's literally it's just like dude, it's like planting seeds. They poked hole. I could send you photos after, but they poked holes in my head. So I look like I got attacked, right? And then
Right,
they
right.
literally took all the hairs from like the side of my head, and you can't even really tell, and put them in. And then they put in like some serum just to help it grow a little bit. And then it's like I said, it's like planting a tree. So you just like over time, they take root and then they go through all their hair cycles. And then before you know it, like, yeah, I got a full head of hair now.
Dude, that's
So,
so crazy.
right.
I need to look up the science of like why the original hair stops growing, but the new hair will never stop growing. Like I don't know how that works.
It's something like because of I don't know if they say it's because of like DHT, so like certain testosterone and
Mhm.
genetics play a role in it. And then when you like put these new sites in, they're not susceptible to like your genetics or to like that testosterone.
Wow.
So like
Got
literally so you have to take like medication for your hair afterwards, right? So like medical, so like finasteride or Propecia, right? And basically, if I stopped taking that, I'd lose the hair that I didn't get transplanted, but the hair I got transplanted would stay.
really
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, could you imagine being the first person to do that procedure and like for the first year, half year, you're like, this didn't fucking work. Like, what the fuck? Right? And like just
This
trust you gotta
sucks.
trust it. Like
Well, that's literally, dude. That was me. I was like, they call it the ugly duckling stage because you're just like wearing hats the whole time because it just doesn't look good yet. And
yeah, yeah.
the whole 6 months, you're like, this didn't fucking work. Like, I don't know, this is brutal.
Now you look like one of those hair models that when I would go to
I
the
feel like
barber when
that.
I was a kid and like and I would like I remember I would go to the barber hairdresser whatever you call him haircut guy and he had these books of different hairstyles.
Yeah.
You look like one of those people who were in those books.
And that strokes my ego in a way you have no idea.
Well, I'm glad. I didn't say it for that reason, but it's the
I'm
truth.
close. Keep going. Almost there, actually. How curly? But it's true. I mean, dude, that's the same. That's literally like because my mom's a hairstylist, right? She's 40 years plus doing
Okay,
hair.
got it, got it, got it.
And
Okay.
I think that's why I had such like a hyper fixation on my hair because like
Yeah.
she used to cut my hair every 2 weeks. She was the first one to tell me, "You're losing your fucking hair." I'm
Oh
like
no.
in front of the whole family at Christmas. I'm like, what the fuck?
How did it come
Yeah.
up at Christmas? What
Oh, dude,
happened?
I can't lose this image. I'm sitting at the table and everybody's doing their thing. It's a joyous time. It's Christmas. And she just comes up to me. I'm sitting down. She just starts going through my hair like a monkey.
Oh
And I'm
no.
just like, what are you doing? And she goes, you're thinning. She goes, you're losing your hair. And then my mom is like the queen of this. She did this when I got my first wet dream too. So literally, yeah, crazy.
What?
Yeah. So she's the queen of this. So she literally goes, Julie, my aunt, Julie, get over here. He's losing his hair, right? Kurt, get over here. And literally, all
Oh,
my family brings him in. I have like all my family like looking at my hair like a fucking
oh,
microscope.
yay, yay. And you're
Yep.
like, all right, I'll just sit here under the microscope while y'all
Yeah, I
look.
guess. All right. I guess my world's over now. So it's like,
Does your family all have thick hair?
so literally everybody has thick hair except for my uncle Kurt. He's
Oh,
literally the only one. My grandpa had my dad has thick head of hair, my mom, everybody.
uh,
And it's just, I got the one that's like, hey, fucker, you're losing
wow.
this. Yep.
Wait, so now we got to go back. What the fuck happened with the wet
Wet
dream?
dream.
How, like, how did this happen? How did you
I
tell
can
your
remember
mom you
this
had one?
clear as day. This is like a therapy session. So basically, I woke up and there's like a good sized spot on a great sized spot on my bed. Uh,
You didn't remember having it.
no, I didn't remember having it.
Okay.
Right. And so I just wake up and there's a spot on my bed. So I go to brush my teeth and I think it's drool. I'm like, oh, I must have drooled in my sleep. And
Was
my
it by
mom
your face?
it was not my face. I had
Oh,
I'd
my
never had
penis
it happen.
drooled.
and my mom comes in my room and she goes, "What's this spot on your bed?" I go,
Oh,
I go, I think I
yeah.
drooled in my sleep. And she goes, "That's not drool."
Oh my God.
Immediately gets my grandpa on the phone. Guess who had his first wet dream?
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Oh yeah.
How old were
Oh
you?
yeah. I think I was 11 or 12,
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, just
Just
entering. Yeah. Go
wow.
ahead.
There's just like no
No
privacy.
boundaries.
No, nothing. That is
Boundaries. My mother and I have worked on boundaries over the years.
she.
Yeah.
So she called and like didn't even try and hide that she was telling him. She was just
No, she's wet dream. Yeah. Dude, my family is incredibly open. Like dinner conversations revolve around sex, what your poop's going, like how your poops are going lately, like
Really?
very open, very
That's
open.
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
So
amazing.
tough
Wow.
times.
If you'd
But
given
like
me like 1,000 guesses as to how this conversation would start.
well, it all revolves around my semen and my hair, I guess
Oh, dear Lord.
today.
Yeah, so they're both like planting trees, you know? It's like
They all stem from somewhere. They'll have their roots, really. It's quite fun. It's seeds, really. Oh, like yeah, I would have never. I have notes, and I'm like, this was on my notes actually. This is what we're gonna talk
Oh,
about.
good, good. All right, we're on schedule then.
We're on track. Wow, this is the best intro I've ever had to a podcast. Nobody, I don't think anybody's known that story.
Now they
Anyways,
do.
now they do for sure. Why don't you just fucking introduce yourself?
No.
Give a brief intro. Your name's
All right.
Jordan.
My name is Jordan, and I am a personal trainer and a
Yeah.
nutrition coach. And I never had a wet dream.
I did not mean to laugh.
I waited until you were drinking the water and I was like, I'm gonna say it.
Is that true?
True. I never had one. I like when I was younger and all my friends were talking about it, I always like wanted to have one so I could like join the club.
Right.
But like I never had one. Ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was having wet dreams almost every day of the week. Like peak. Like college, dude, was the worst because I went through all my shorts every night.
No, are you serious?
I don't know. I think my testosterone is just very high. Wet dreams were a constant for me. I still have them occasionally.
No way.
Honest to God. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember them ever?
Yeah, I remember I remember one where it's literally and I remember this because it's the worst one I've ever had. Because I'm in the dream. There's this beautiful girl, starts getting heavy, some heavy petting, and all of a sudden she reaches and touches my wrist, and I
And that
came.
was it. Oh
and, I,
my.
and I just remember immediately waking up. I go, what the fuck? Like, just being like, really? Like that's how I finished today? Like a
Oh, it
wrist
reminds,
touch.
oh, it reminds me of American Pie. Oh,
Yes.
wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, that's crazy. You never had a wet dream. That actually blows my mind.
Yeah, I remember they would talk about it in like I think like fifth grade sex ed when they start like introducing you to this stuff, and I was just like, yeah, I've never had one. And we go through middle school, and everyone's like, I remember there was
Yeah.
like one sleepover, all the guys were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I've never had one, and they didn't believe me. They're like, you're
Yeah.
lying, you're just embarrassed. I was like, no, I swear to God, I've never had one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's something. Well, you're also lucky in a way because it's the cleanup is the worst part because
yeah, I would imagine that would not
it's
be
no,
fun.
you go, yeah. It's, you're you're really taking me back.
Take me back to 2 nights ago. All
Yeah,
right.
and it was it's quite, yeah, it's a special time. I'm dripping in sweat now as we inch closer and inch closer. But so you are the Jordan Syatt. You're a master of not finishing at night, and you are a personal trainer. You're a father now. You're
Yes.
you're one of my mentors, one of my best friends, and you got a. I think I kind of nabbed you at a good time because you are peak Jordan experiment right now.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, I bet we're gonna talk about this because this is definitely like from a content perspective, great timing for
Yeah.
sure.
And I
Yeah.
think, and I know whenever you're doing shit like this, you're infatuated.
What do you
Like
mean?
your personality, whenever you're doing something that you're very interested in,
Mm,
you
mm.
are absorbed. You're like,
You know me well.
yeah,
Yeah, I get
exactly.
like super into it. I've dove. I almost said divin. I've dove so far deep into the glucose world.
Mm,
Like I've learned more about blood glucose and diabetes and blood sugar response in the last 3 weeks than I did in almost 20 years in the industry. And that includes going to college, like having nutrition courses, taking different certifications. Like it's
mm,
one thing to learn it from a book, it's another thing to really like experience it and then have a lot of interviews with diabetics and speak with them about it and then dive into
mm.
the research more emphatically and really with a passion. So yeah, it's been a very fun 3 weeks.
What prompted you to, because you've done like the Big Mac challenge in the past. I think that's like one of your more well-known ones. What kind of prompted you to want to do the blood glucose and the insulin spikes and all that?
Yeah, so the Big Mac challenge is the most well known. I also did the carnivore diet, which was also a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I just look at what is going on in culture or on social media, and I saw so many people. It's become a huge thing lately. People saying like, never mind, like don't spike your blood sugar, but they're saying don't have fruit
Mm-hmm.
because fruit is going to make you fat. And this has been a thing for a while, but for a while they were just saying it's just because it's sugar. Now with the continuous glucose monitors, people are showing, well, look at this blood sugar spike. So now people have
Right.
this, it's real data. It's not fake data. It's reductionist data. It's like, look, I had this fruit and then my blood sugar spiked, and you can see it right here. And this is going to prevent you from losing fat. And people are believing it because they don't know any better. And it's what they don't realize is that, yeah, your blood sugar spiked because that's your body's normal, healthy response to eating that food. And if
Mm-hmm.
you didn't have that, then you would die. Like
Right.
that's in place for you to actually be able to absorb that food. It's not
Mm-hmm.
bad at
Mm-hmm.
all. And so I got so sick and tired of it. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Not only am I gonna do this whole challenge, deliberately spike my blood sugar every day, I'm gonna take it one step further and I'm gonna rectify the greatest regret I have from the Big Mac challenge, which was
Mm-hmm.
with the Big Mac challenge, it was one Big Mac a day every day.
Yeah.
Uh, and obviously other food as well, but I had to have one Big Mac a day every day and still lose weight. My regret was not getting blood work done.
Yeah.
I didn't get blood work done, and part of that was ignorance. Part of it was laziness. I didn't really like know like I could just go get my blood work done unless I went to the doctor. I was like, whatever, I'll do this. So now I got blood work done, and I got
Mm,
a super comprehensive metabolic panel taken. I got everything.
mm.
I had a doctor's appointment like 2 weeks after I got this blood work because I got a new primary care physician, and she was like, okay, I'll get your blood work done. I was like, actually, I just did it by myself. And I showed it to her. She was like, this is the most comprehensive panel I've ever seen. And
Wow.
so that was very cool.
Yeah.
So now I got blood work done before, I'll get blood work done after. And this way, and the cool part about this is I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if
Yeah.
my A1C is going to be better or worse. I don't know what's going to happen from that perspective. I have my guesses and my intuition,
Yeah.
but I'm very excited to see. And some people have already lost their minds and gotten really like, this has helped me so much. Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
this was true. Some people had the people who were really touting the blood sugar spikes are bad. They've already changed the goalposts. They
Mm.
moved them back. So before they were like blood sugar spikes are bad. And there are still some people saying that. But now a lot of those people are like, well, it's not bad. But if you're a diabetic, you're bad. It's bad. I'm like, well, yeah, no fucking shit. But you never said that
You
ever in any of your
fucker.
content. It's like all of your content has been it's going to prevent you from losing fat, and now they're like, well, yeah, if you're a diabetic, it's like, and you're not even a diabetic specialist. You've never
Right.
spoken to diabetics. Everything has been Gen Pop focused, but now we're like, okay, like, yeah, well, yeah, for diabetic, of course, for diabetics, that's like, congratulations, like we've
Right.
known this for fucking years.
I feel that's not even changing the goalpost. That's like changing the sport. You're like, it's,
Yes, yeah, exactly,
it's like,
exactly.
what the fuck, man? It's like, yeah, that's why they have an insulin packer. Like, that's why. That's wild. What was like your process? Because like I'm always curious how you sort of set, because you're basically you're creating a study, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like and this is an experiment. So what's like how was your process like setting it up like so that you can get rid of as many variables as possible? And how are you measuring your like your blood sugar levels, all that?
Yeah, so I will say I love science. I love research. It's an N equals one. I'm the only participant,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a young, metabolically healthy, active male with a relatively significant amount of muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this impacts it. It would. What I will say is this. So even though, and I've actually put out bets, I've bet people $100,000 I could replicate the study with someone who is severely overweight and a woman and in menopause. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'll give you $100,000 if it doesn't work for you. But if it does
Right.
work for you, you give me $100,000. And no one's taking me up
I
on
always
that.
love when you do that.
So the way that I set it up is I have my continuous glucose monitor, which you can't see. I have a sweatshirt on, but I have a CGM in my arm, and I also got the finger prick
Mm-hmm.
blood sugar measurements, because the CGM, it's not 100% accurate. It doesn't actually technically get your blood. It's in the interstitial fluid in your arm, which can
Mm.
like take samples, but it's not actually measuring your blood samples. So it can get a good idea, but there is a standard deviation, a standard of error there. So I wanted to get the CGM, but I also wanted to get the finger prick because the finger prick is 100% accurate.
Mm.
The drawback of the finger prick is you only get it at one point in time. With the CGM, you can get the data from 24 hours straight over time, so you get more of the trend, which is they're
Mm-hmm.
both helpful.
Yeah.
So I have that, and the idea of the study was I have to spike it every day, right? It's not just one time. It's not just like, I wanted to show people I spike it every single day over the course of 30 days. And we're going to look at not just my weight loss, but also my health markers.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Google Doc going, and I'll read you like which, basically on a scale of 1 to 5, I'm keeping track of how I'm feeling in different markers. So I'll read you those. So every day I go in and I log, number one, I log my weight from that day. Number two is I log the biggest glucose spike from that day and what spiked it.
Mm-hmm.
I also log my performance, my hunger, my energy, my mental focus, and my mood. And so I track all of these on a scale of 1 to 5, and we're going to sort of average them out by the end of the experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. And I also wanted to give people the option to tell me what they'd like to see me spike my blood sugar with. So
Mhm.
I'll go on my Instagram and I'll be like, what do you want to see me spike it with? And yesterday, people have been saying the Starbucks Frappuccinos since day
Yeah.
one, and I've never had one until yesterday, and I
You
finally had one,
shit your
and it was,
pants.
dude, I'm explosively lactose intolerant, and I didn't want to change the milk because I knew there would be someone who would be like, well, you didn't actually have the Frappuccino. So I was like,
Right.
fuck it, whatever, I'll deal with it. I got the regular pumpkin spice Frappuccino, which I cannot believe, bro. People have these on a frequent basis.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite holidays, if not my favorite holiday, is Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
And it's like having Thanksgiving dessert every day.
Okay,
It's
pumpkin pie. Yeah.
and it's just like I can very quickly see how people get psychologically addicted to that type of a thing, and
Mm,
how that desensitizes them to a normal taste profile. So that if you have that, then there's no way you're going to think an apple is sweet. There's no way.
right.
It's outrageous. I think that's part of why I got a little bit sick. But
Mm.
but yeah, so I've had Skittles. I literally ate a quarter of a cup of straight sugar one day.
So
I ate a quarter cup
how
of
was
straight sugar.
how was that?
Dude, it was delicious. My
It's like a
dentist
sugar
was
cube.
livid. I was like, you could hear it was like chewing on sand, but it was delicious.
Yep.
That was the worst crash that I've had thus far. That was
Really?
by far. It didn't even spike my blood sugar up that much. And it's funny because I've been looking at glycemic index and glycemic load a lot. The number one thing that spikes my blood sugar above everything is watermelon, which makes sense. It has
Wow.
the
Yeah.
highest glycemic index.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just so funny to me that like the Frappuccino, it didn't even take my blood sugar outside of a healthy range. If
Right.
I was diabetic or insulin resistant, it absolutely would have,
Hmm.
but it didn't even take it outside a healthy range.
Yeah.
Watermelon takes it outside the healthy range every single time. It's a
Right.
fucking rocket ship.
Right.
Rocket ship. It's
Right.
outrageous. And so under the logic of blood sugar spikes are bad, I should have more Starbucks Frappuccinos and less
Right.
watermelon, which is just stupid.
Yeah.
So it's been fun, and I've been getting a lot of messages similar to the Big Mac challenge.
Hmm.
Thank you so much. Like I've been told this is bad, and people didn't believe that you could do it. So
Yeah.
it's been a very good experiment. I think it's been worthwhile, and I think I mean I know I've personally learned a lot.
Yeah. And you just made a post like 20 minutes ago about the difference between what a food does from a blood sugar spike, but also compared to how it makes you feel.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Can you
Yeah.
talk on that a little bit? Like what you mentioned, like the sugar made you feel like shit, but how do you feel like in terms of like when people see blood sugar spikes, but how certain foods make you feel and why we should compare that overall?
It's a great question. It's something I want to talk more about both in content and in the final YouTube video of this. But um, everywhere I look, people are like, "Yeah, blood sugar spikes make you feel bad. The
Hmm.
spike and then the drop makes you feel bad. You've crashed." Da, 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 da. Well, the biggest spike and drops that I get are from watermelon,
Yeah.
and I feel amazing. I feel full. I feel energetic. I'm focused. Like watermelon is one of the foods that makes me feel great,
Hmm.
which is why I eat it so much. Whereas with the Frappuccino, I didn't get a huge spike. And I didn't get a huge drop either. I got like somewhere right in the middle. It was very middle of the road.
Hmm.
And I felt like fucking garbage.
Right.
Actually, the donut was really similar. The donut that I had, it didn't give me a huge spike. Definitely didn't give me a huge drop. I was so hungry. I had a
Yeah.
terrible headache. And for me, this just goes to show, don't listen when people just say, oh, this will make you feel bad. It's like,
Hmm.
well, maybe try it for yourself.
Yeah.
You like see, how does that food make you feel? A lot of people, oh, white rice is going to make you feel bad. It's like, I don't know. I feel great when I have white get when I have
Right.
brown rice, I feel get a little bit bloated.
Right.
So, and people are like, oh, brown rice is better because the lower blood sugar spike. Well, I don't know. For some people, brown rice is going to make them feel a bit more bloated and not going to feel as good.
Hmm.
I feel really great when I have jasmine white rice. It's my
Hmm.
favorite rice to have.
Yeah.
So everyone is so quick to talk about how we're all individuals, but those
Yeah.
same people will also say, well, this food is good, this food is bad, this food is like going to make you feel like shit. It's like, well, how about you
Right.
try it? Let's see how it
Right.
actually makes you feel.
Right. Yeah. And you could do the same thing with exercise too, right? Like you fucking love jujitsu. That makes you
Yes.
feel really good from a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint, where other people might fucking hate it,
Yeah, my
right?
buddy Mike Vacanti hates jujitsu. He's tried it and quit like 3 times. And he's like, I'll never forget the last time he came to visit me. He took one class with me and he was like, I just want you to know this is my last class ever. I hate this.
What a wuss, man. Mike, hey, Mike, you're a wuss, man. I could just see his neck. Like, what?
Yeah, he'd get so pissed if he heard it. He'd be like, I'm gonna fucking
I'll
kill
yeah,
you.
send this. What a wuss, Mike. Come on.
He'd be like, all right, you know what? I'm going back to jiu-jitsu. I'm gonna fucking
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck him up. Holy shit. Well, I always liked when you do these experiments or you're creating content, I think that's one of your great qualities. You're able to sort of take a step back and look at it from like a holistic standpoint and mental, physical, emotional. Because I remember when you attempted the 10,000 calorie challenge, right?
Oh,
And I
that
just
was so
remember, right? I remember watching the video and you were fucking miserable, right? But what can you tell people who might have not seen it, what was it? Because you were going through it, and then why did you ultimately stop and not complete the challenge?
man, this must have been 2019, I think.
Yeah,
And to be fair, the strategy I used was terrible.
yeah.
But but it's funny. I remember watching, there's some very famous people on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
who do a lot and previously have done a lot of like 10,000 calorie, 20,000 calorie plus challenges.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this, and my background is behavioral psychology, specifically in relation to nutrition. And I remember I was saying like these people all have binge eating disorder.
Mm.
They all have, like, you can't do that unless you have a serious issue with food. And they were it's funny because they were all super lean.
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is they would do these challenges and they starve themselves. And the only person who's been really open about it, or who was open about it from the beginning, is Eric the Electric. I love that guy. He has a whole separate channel about his struggles with food. And
Mm.
these other people were just pretending like it was normal and they were using it for views. And so as I was doing it and I got super full, I was like, I'm not going to force myself to do that. Like, this is just unhealthy. This is not
Mm-hmm.
promoting a good relationship with food. There's no reason to be doing this
Yeah.
whatsoever. So I was
Yeah.
like, fuck it, I'm out. I think I got like 2 hours in. Maybe it was 30 minutes in. I forget. It was either 30 minutes or 2 hours. I forget. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm done. Like, I
Yeah.
feel terrible. Yeah, it was awful. I
Yeah.
think I maybe had like 2,000 calories. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
the worst attempt at a 10,000 calorie challenge ever, which
Yeah.
is like, you're not supposed to be able to eat that much food in a
Right.
day. It's just,
Right.
it's not good for you.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's why I remember because I grew up watching like the 10,000 calorie challenges, all that stuff. Like, I thought it was entertaining, but I thought you had a really great perspective on it because I was just like, oh fuck, like yeah, it is binging, like you are binging, and the fact that you were able to stop yourself because you have a previous history too of something
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
overcame for you, right? Um, so
That's
uh,
why I thought I was going to be able to do it, because
uh,
I haven't binged in well over a decade now, thank God.
yeah,
But I did struggle with binging from 14 years old until like 21 years old,
mm,
mainly from wrestling. And you know how, have you ever been at like a peak level of strength or something, and then you take a time off, and then your brain remembers when you were at that peak level of strength? So you go to the
yeah,
gym thinking you're going to be able to be at that level of strength, and you're like, wow, I am way weaker. Well,
mm,
my brain remembers when I binge ate how much I could eat in one time. And so I was
mm,
like, 10,000 calories, like that's no problem. That's an easy binge. I could do that, no problem.
right,
But by the time I tried it, I had been binge free for like 7 years at that time. So
yeah,
I developed a much healthier relationship with food. My hunger signals were working. And
mm,
so I got a couple thousand calories in and I felt like sick, physically sick. But if
mm,
I did that while I was actually struggling with binge eating,
yeah,
10,000 is an easy day in the park. Like,
right,
easy. It's a stroll. Like, yeah,
yep.
no problem, you know?
Oh yeah, dude. Because I remember because when I used to wrestle, I used to do the old Jolly Rancher spit in a bottle and
Yeah.
like garbage bag, run into the pool room, like all that shit, sweat it out, and then immediately, like especially tournament days, as soon as you
Oh,
get your way in, you fucking munch, right? You
yeah.
just eat.
Yeah. You binge. It's like
Yep.
that's your one day where you can go all out right before you start cutting weight again for the next one.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely. What my so I think that's a good transition because like I said, I think I have an interesting perspective because I've known you now for like 6 years, which is
That's
kind of
crazy.
fucking crazy.
That is nuts.
Um, and I've had like the perspective of watching you sort of like my own child, watching you sort of grow through your own like fitness journey, right? So I've seen you as the entrepreneurial Jordan Syatt who's just like fucking doing all nighters, like doing like like doing whatever it
That was
takes to
so
get it
bad.
done, right? And like you even mentioned being in like one of the worst shapes of your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To the rollerblader Jordan Syatt who's fucking blading through New York City, right? Recklessly. And then, obviously, and then you found jujitsu, right? And
Yeah.
that has really kind of shaped, the person you are now and how you train. So like my question for you is how has your mindset really changed from, like younger version of yourself around fitness and nutrition to where you're at now, where you're a father and you have other goals and things that you're trying to focus on.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I love you. Like I
I
I
love you
love
too, man.
crazy. It's been 6 years.
Right?
Mm. It's funny. So I was just talking with Mike. I had a dentist appointment before this, and when I was waiting, I was talking to Mike on the phone, and I was just outside the dentist's office, just walking, getting some steps in,
Yeah.
and Mike had just finished a walk, and we were both saying, we're like, man, just love walking,
Right.
and I said, and Mike laughed. I was like, I feel like that's the demarcation line of when you're old. Like
Mm,
when you start loving walks, when it's just like, because younger me would have been like, what the fuck do you mean a walk? Like
hmm.
you're gonna go to the gym, you're gonna lift super heavy, you're gonna do something crazy. Now for me, it's I really just want to feel good and I want to be
Mm,
healthy. When I go to the doctor, I want to make sure everything is in good shape. I want to make sure my blood work is good. I want to make sure my heart is good.
yeah.
And whereas before I would do the dumbest shit, like pulling all nighters is terrible for your health.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It is absolutely terrible for your health. And I did it all the time for work without a thought of my health. And I
Hmm.
think I think a lot's happened that has influenced that, not just getting older, but also getting married and having a baby and
Hmm.
all of these things that have almost made me they've made me sort of come to terms with my own mortality
Mm,
and making sure that I get life insurance so that if I die, making sure my wife and daughter are taken care of, like that'll make you come like to terms with your own mortality real quick. Like when you
yeah.
get life insurance, which is like something I never would have done before.
Right.
Um,
It's like a mortality wet dream.
yeah. So it's all of these things have massively influenced me. And also there's
Yeah.
also this there's been a when I was younger, I was more aggressive. And
Mm,
so and I think I'm sure part of it had to do with having higher testosterone. I got my testosterone checked as part of this metabolic panel that I got,
hmm.
not because I wanted specifically my test, but because this was a very comprehensive one. It included it. And it was like total test was like 545, which is like not low, not high. It's pretty middle of the road.
Hmm.
And I would imagine that if you look at my test from like 6, 7 years ago, it would be 800, 900.
Mm,
I was more aggressive, and
yeah.
that came out in how I approached life, how I approached business, how I approached my own training, all of that stuff.
Mm,
And now I've spoken about this with Mike a lot. I'm I'm not as angry.
mm,
You know, when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, dude, I was angry. And I'd
yeah.
go to the gym and I'd lift angrily. And like it was just there was anger. And I
Yeah.
think if you look from a historical perspective, I think there's a reason why armies then and now fill their military with 18 to 22-year-old men. That's a military aged male, right?
Hmm.
It's like that, like
Right.
you're overseas. Oh, we got a military aged male on our side. It's like it's usually between like 18 to 22.
Right.
Like they have anger. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of, I think oftentimes the growth process for men. And I'm just not angry anymore.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
sometimes I miss it. There's like this like
Angry
sometimes I'm
lifts,
like,
right?
man, like I like the aggression and like I now like even in a situation which I should be angry, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have that anymore, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think one, obviously, because I mean, I feel like as a teenager, you do tend to, at least I did, I tend to put a lot of my mental stress and try to release it through lifting,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like those angry lifts are way more common because you're someone talks shit to you or something's going on at home or like work sucks, like whatever it might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking lift the shit out of this.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
slanging weights, right?
Yes.
And I think it's true. And again, like I think credit to you because like you said, you're a personal trainer who really focuses on the behavioral change aspect of change and weight loss and fitness and all that. But you also did dive into therapy for yourself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? How do you think that sort of do you think that played a role into sort of you processing your emotions better and not having these angry lists and also being able to sort of come to peace a little bit maybe more efficiently or optimally?
So it's a great question. I think so. I've been to therapy at numerous points throughout my life. My mom made me go to therapy in high school when my parents got divorced.
Same.
So around like 16. And I remember being in school, like being in class. And keep in mind, I was very happy they got divorced. I was not upset. It was a
Right.
very good thing for me.
Yeah.
But there were times when I was just sitting in class where I would have out of nowhere, how women talk about hot flashes as they go through menopause? I
Mm-hmm.
would have like a flash where I would just get infuriated beyond what
Mm,
I could ever comprehend. And I didn't know why.
yeah.
I was just like out of nowhere and I'd be pissed. And it would last for a few minutes and then it was gone. And there was no reason for it. And I expressed that to my mom. She was like, I think we should get you in therapy.
Yeah.
So I went. And at that point in time, I didn't really like the therapist. And I also don't think I was ready for it mentally and emotionally. I was being forced to do it.
Right.
Then I seeked, I seeked out therapy.
Saw it.
I saw it. Thank you. Wow. English is,
You sucked it.
I could
Sure
not
did.
imagine trying to learn English as a second language.
Right.
I sought out therapy when I was 23 or 24
Mm-hmm.
because I was dealing with anger still. And I didn't like that therapist, even though thinking back, I think that therapist was fucking awesome. Thinking
Mm,
back to it, I think he was amazing. I just don't think I was ready for him. He was super blunt, which is like the same way I am, but I was like,
yeah.
I don't like this
Right.
guy. So I stopped that after a couple sessions.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I was, I think, 28 that I sought it out again. And at that time, I was ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
That time I was really ready to do it. And I think I was at a point in which I was open to taking the criticisms and open to taking a more objective look at who I am and what I'm putting out and what I'm offering and sort of how taking responsibility for my own actions.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before there was a lot less of that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think therapy did help, but it only was able to help and when I was ready for it to help.
Right.
Before that, every time I had went, I wasn't in a place where I was ready to really take what was being said to me and
Mm-hmm.
and and use it in a productive way. And if we look at stages of change, if we look at motivational interviewing, we can see that the person needs to be ready, willing, and able to actually make that change. And I was not ready, willing, or able prior to when I did it around 27, 28. And that's when I think it made a big difference.
Do you do you find because I always thought I whenever I think of you, I always associate you as like a master of like motivational interviewing as like with behavioral change. Did you find like as you're going through therapy, you're like, I know what the fuck you're trying to get me to do right now. It's like, well played, sir. Like, did you experience any like fourth wall as you're going through therapy, and how did you try to navigate that to become more
Yeah.
vulnerable through therapy?
Yeah, there it was for sure. But I also what helped me, I brought it up to the therapist.
Mm,
And I was like, just so you know, like I'm having these thoughts. And he's like, that's okay. Like, doesn't mean it's not worth it.
yeah.
But the main thing that helped me was remembering the Dunning-Kruger effect, which it basically is the Dunning-Kruger effect. It shows that people who aren't very educated on a certain topic
Mm,
think that they're very educated on that topic. Whereas
hmm.
people who are very educated on a certain topic feel like they don't know enough about that topic.
Yeah.
And so if I ever got in my head thinking like I know what he's doing, in my head I'd be like, no, I don't. Like, because motivational interviewing is like it's one tool that therapists can use.
Right.
They have so many tools.
Right.
It's like there are so many options. And even if I'm right, just like my therapist at the time, Jesse said, it was like, so what?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not worth it. Like I use it because it
True.
works. So they should use it on me too because it
Right.
works. And
Right.
so I was able to sort of be like, hey, I'm not as fucking smart as my ego's telling me I am.
Yeah.
I'm here with this therapist because I want to get better. Shut the fuck up and just get to work, you know?
Yep.
Whereas 24-year-old me would have been more like, I know what this guy's doing. And like
Yep.
that's why it wouldn't work because I
Right.
wouldn't have like the whole time I would have been thinking I know what he's doing as opposed to actually trying to do real inner work.
Hmm.
So if I want to stroke my own ego, then I'll just like try and figure out what method he's using. If I actually want to improve myself and improve my
Yeah.
life, I'll let him do his job and I'll let me do my job at that time, which
Right.
try and improve myself.
Like let your guard down. Right.
Yeah. And be honest and be open. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's exactly right.
How do you think therapy in general and also maybe jujitsu, how do you think that has played a role in like you as a person, you as a coach, and then you as like a husband and father?
Jujitsu has been like that for me, I think has been a massive outlet. It's made me more calm.
Mm,
I think it's made me less aggressive. It's given me an outlet for my aggression, but also it's also made me less aggressive. It's one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I think outside of building a business, I think jujitsu is probably the most difficult thing I've done.
mm.
And I mean, there are so many cliche things I could say. Well, it's taught me the meaning of consistency, and
Right.
like, no, it didn't. Like, I understood the importance of that beforehand. I think more than anything, it's helped me remove or diminish my ego.
Mm,
I mean, and it's impossible to survive in jujitsu with an ego because you're going to get beat by girls who weigh 20 pounds less than you, have never lifted a weight in your life, but they're savage killers
hmm.
because they've been doing jujitsu since they were like 5 years old. And like,
Right.
there's this one girl in my academy. Her name's Vanessa. She's 16 years old. Dude, she kills me.
Wow.
She kills me. And I have 10 years wrestling background, 4 years jujitsu. Like,
Right. You're not
and
chump.
she's never lifted a weight in her life. I'm significantly stronger than her, but
Yep.
she's so technically sound. It reminds me of like Bruce Lee, right? Where it's
Wow.
like he wasn't the biggest guy, he wasn't the strongest guy, but he famously he said it's better to practice one kick 10,000 times than 10,000 kicks one time, right? It's like
Mm,
she just practices and her technique is so good that
yeah.
no matter if I try and use my strength, she uses my strength against me, and
Smart.
it's wild. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So
Right.
I think with the reduction of my ego has made me more objective. It's allowed me to be more honest with myself and with others. I
Hmm.
don't have to protect anything because I'm
Right.
okay with not having ego. I really think that Ryan Holiday's "Ego is the Enemy" is a really good tool for people, but I think ego is like the worst thing ever for
Hmm.
so many reasons. Ego is one of those things where if you have an ego, then you have a hard time apologizing for a mistake that you
Hmm.
made.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves is when people, for whatever reason, when they're shown that they're wrong, they won't apologize.
Mm,
And why won't they apologize? Because they look at it as a failure. Or the other option, the other very is like maybe they were brought up in a household in which as soon as they apologized, it was like used against them, which like
mm,
that is a very fair reason as well. But if you're an adult, you've got to own up to it. So like I understand you had that in your past, but like moving forward, you have to apologize if you're wrong. And the only
right.
reason you're not going to apologize is because like you have this ego attached. So being able to remove my ego from all situations in life, admit when I've
Mm,
made a mistake. Um, it's so funny. I remember when I was younger, if I would get someone who disagreed with something on a post of mine, this is like 2014, not even 2014, 2015. I remember vividly there was a kid that I grew up with who would disagree with me on every post. And he would always write comments like, I disagree. Da, da. And I just started deleting it and blocking him. And then I realized if I make a mistake or say something wrong and I just admit that in the reply, it's way better than just trying to block that person out. But
Right.
people all over social media will block people or delete their comments because they don't want someone disagreeing with them, or they don't want the possibility of being wrong.
Mm,
So I think whether it's being a husband, a father, a business owner, or whatever, the removal or diminishment of my ego has, I think, been one of the greatest changes that I've had, especially from jujitsu, also therapy. Because in
yeah.
therapy, if a therapist is doing a really good job, they're not going to say what you want to hear. They're going to challenge you to hear what you need to hear.
Hmm.
And sometimes I think that's why it didn't work for me at 24, because I had such an ego. I didn't want to hear it. And I was like, I don't like what you're saying, so I'm out. I don't like you. When in reality, I
Yeah.
needed to hear what that guy was saying. And I don't wish that I stayed, because at that point in life, it would have been a waste. I wasn't ready for
Right.
it. But I'm glad now I can look back and be like, yeah, that guy knew what was up.
That's actually insane that you had that. 'Cause a lot of people will do psychedelics for that experience of ego death, right? But
Mm,
you sort of work through your ego through hardship, right? And
mm,
vulnerability, which I deeply respect, because I think I'm very similar, where the I think vulnerability is like the biggest strength anybody can ever have. I think I'd
yeah.
like, if you're authentic and you're able to just be completely vulnerable, I think you are the strongest person compared to like anybody else.
Hmm.
So I'm talking to you when I say like that. That's
Thank you.
amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
I think
Uh,
I used to misinterpret what vulnerability meant.
yeah.
When I heard vulnerable, I interpret it as like, I don't know, like, well, these are my emotions, like, and I'm delicate too. And maybe that could be one aspect of vulnerability,
Hmm.
but I think vulnerability for me was being as objectively honest as I possibly could, and just like
Hmm.
saying the truth when it's the scariest fucking thing to say it,
Yeah.
and just regardless of the fear of what you think is going to happen, saying what you believe, saying what you're going through. It doesn't always even have to be anything necessarily bad,
Hmm.
or I think a lot of guys would hear vulnerable and they think like what I used to think, in terms of, oh, you have to, oh, my deepest darkest fears. It doesn't have to be like that. I think we all go through times like, should I say this, should I not say this, I don't know. It's like, just
Yeah.
fucking say it.
Yeah.
And so much of that is built around your ego, because you don't want to damage your ego. And when you can
Hmm.
do that, I still struggle with it, but I think
Yeah.
when you do that, you diminish the ego, and it gives you a tremendous amount of power, because you're not owned by your ego anymore.
Yeah.
You're owned by the truth, which is
Absolutely.
the best.
Yeah. It's actually kind of crazy that we're on this subject, because that's the whole reason I named this podcast These Little Moments Podcast, is
Mm,
because I don't know if you remember at your first inner circle retreat,
I
right?
remember.
So first inner circle retreat, end of the whole thing, everybody's being very vulnerable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Holy shit. Like I knew
yeah.
after that retreat, I needed to like decompress, because
Yeah, yeah.
there was so much that was being expressed, right? But that's and again, this is you're the reason why I started this podcast, right? Your retreats, why I named it These Little Moments Podcast, because
Mm,
at your retreat, what you just expressed, like that moment where you feel like I need to share this, or else I'm not going to grow as a person and I'm going to stay the same forever, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
at your retreat was when I expressed that. I basically told everybody I don't give a fuck about fitness and nutrition. It's like I fucking get it. Like I work out, I'll eat right, like I'll do all this shit. But it's like the little moments that we all share together, and like being vulnerable, and how all this has really like evolutionize everybody here, right? We've all evolved because of what we just expressed, that we've held deep down for who knows how long, right? So, so this leads me to my last question, like fucking perfectly, since I mean, crazy how we all started from wet dreams and now we're going here, but seamless. But basically, so the reason I named this podcast is because of my ability to be vulnerable, and that was the little moment that was my catalyst to continue to push myself, continue to focus on mental health and therapy, and push myself out of my comfort zone. Obviously, it's like huge credit to you. Like it gets me very emotional even like thinking about it, talking about it, right? So my question for you, and this is like full circle because this is episode 101. I've done 101 of these
Oh wow,
podcasts
let's
now, right? Since
go.
living in my mom's basement. Uh, what is your little moment that sort of sticks out to you that you feel was a big catalyst to becoming the person you are today?
Hmm, that's a really good question. Man, there's so many of these
Mm-hmm.
moments that have changed me in so many different ways. Let me think about this for a second. I don't want to rush
Yeah,
through.
no, don't.
Let me think. Hmm.
I
No,
like that you're taking your time. That's a good thing.
so there's so here's what I'll say. So
Mm-hmm.
there's not an individual moment. It was a collection of moments with one person.
Mm,
And so coming back to Mike, there's Mike is the person in my life who he's like the first person that I became like fully honest with
mm,
about everything, like about everything in my life. Um, he's the first person that I really like when you were at the retreat and you're like, oh, I've got to say this really hard thing. That's such a huge amount of respect because you're saying it in front of a group of people. I had never done that before Mike. I had
mm,
never had someone where I could really just be like, you know what? Here are these skeletons. Like, I'm just gonna fucking unload it. And I think there's a lot of reasons why I never had that before. Um, but through the years, obviously, like my wife as well. But even then, like there's something about having one person that like everything, like no matter what, that even things before I started dating my wife where I was able to just like unload. I think having Mike for me was a huge tool that I've been able to use for my own self-improvement
mm,
because there's no holding back. There's no judgment. It's just like I'm just gonna say exactly what I did, what I felt, like the absolute truth,
mm,
which has been very uncomfortable in many circumstances, but it's
mm.
always been met with openness, and which is like if you think about it, it's a form of therapy, right?
Yeah,
It's like even with therapists, I haven't been as honest with therapists as I have been with Mike.
yeah,
I think that just that openness. I think sometimes it can be difficult with therapists, especially early on, just because you don't know them still. It's like it's I think it's different when it's can it also be someone that like you love and they're a close friend of yours. So and I've told this to Mike many times, but I very much think we've all heard the phrase like you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. Thank God that
mm,
I've been around Mike so much because I really think my life would have taken a different path if I had been hanging out with other people or been in a different social circle. Um, and being able to just be open with him, I think that's made me a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better business owner for sure. So that's there's not one moment, but it's the
right.
collection of those moments of being honest.
Wow. So Mike Vacanti,
Yeah,
the
yeah, man.
the man who I called a wuss moments before. Fuck. You could have told me, man. Could told me sooner. But I think that one, I think that's amazing because to me that tells me that Mike was there for you through it all, right? And he gave you that feeling and that safe space to be
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had that trust in him, and I think that's ultimately why you over the years you felt like, hey, I can tell this fucking guy anything,
Yeah.
right? And he's going to be an open ear. He's not going to judge me. He might call me a fucking idiot, but I need to be called a fucking idiot, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's amazing. So, goddamn, Mike Vacanti wraps
It's
up.
similar though. It is pretty
Yeah,
similar. Like both of ours are involving
yeah,
saying things that we've never said before to
mhm,
someone else,
yeah,
which I think is like we could probably, I mean, we could probably look at alcoholics, or it's probably one reason why at Alcoholics Anonymous, they'll start off being like, "Hey, my name is so and so, and I'm an
Yeah.
alcoholic." It's
Right.
saying these hard things. It's
Uh-huh.
saying the things that like we hold on to that we don't want to say. That once you say it, as Gary Vaynerchuk has said, it's like your secrets are your own prison.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like when you can actually get them out there, it's like all of a sudden you're free again. And
Mm-hmm.
it releases you from being held back by your own thoughts and your own limiting beliefs just by
Mm-hmm.
expressing them openly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I actually love that we haven't mentioned Gary's name once, because every podcast I hear you on, it's like the same
Oh,
shit.
every fucking, and they just use it so they can put that in the title. Gary Vee, personal trainer.
Gary V's former trainer,
Yeah.
joining Syatt. I don't
Every time.
care.
And then they'll put Gary's picture on the
Yeah.
thumbnail as well. I'm like, you guys suck. Like, there's no faster way to lose my respect than
Right.
just use me to try and get views and downloads, and then essentially
Yeah.
using Gary. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Well, that makes me happy, because that means I think we had a very good, genuine conversation. And again, dude, thank you for your time, and thank you so much for, again, this is all literally what we're doing right now is all because you pushed me. You were my Mike Vacanti, baby.
And I'll say this, so just for everyone listening, a lot of people will throughout the years, people message me and they ask, can I do one-on-one coaching with you?
Mhm.
And for many years I've said, hey, listen, I'm not doing one-on-one coaching at the moment, but I have someone that I really trust. He's an amazing coach. I trust him implicitly, and he does a great job, and it's Ryan. So if you're listening and you're looking for a one-on-one fitness coach, strength training, nutrition, any of that, don't email me, because I'm just going to send you to Ryan. So like that's it. So like definitely, if you're listening, you've been debating it, email Ryan, because he's one of the best in the industry, and I don't say that lightly.
You're you're trying to get me emotional today, and it's weird. It's, I don't know if it's sweat or tears right now. It's definitely both.
I just hope enough people make it past the wet dream part. We can get to the pitch.
I hope you reach past the wrist, and you get the full you get the full dream, baby. But all this to say, I love you so much, man. I'm great. I'm actually really happy it took me so long. It took me so long to ask you to get on my podcast, because in a weird way, I felt like I had to work up to get you as like a person, because like I just always felt like I'm not ready yet to ask this fucking guy questions or like pick his brain. But like I feel like now at the point where I am and where you are, I'm just like, I just want to have a conversation with you and just like and
Yeah,
chat. And that's what made this time and point in time for both of us, me just be like, let's just fucking talk. And I appreciate you so much, man. Thank
dude,
you.
I love you, man. It was a great
Love you
talk.
too.
You're a great host. I hope if anyone came from my Instagram story where I'll share this, I hope you follow Ryan, follow his podcast, follow his social media, and dude, I love you. You're fantastic, and I'm. It's an honor to be on here with you.
It's all honors, all mine. And I'll stop this recording. We'll chat super quick, and we'll get you on the road. All right, dude.
All right, man. Thank
All
you.
right, love you. Peace. Later, guys.